The Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2. There is a notable improvement between the DLCs and the main game in pretty much every aspect, and that is saying a lot. It's very clear that the devs know what makes Doom Eternal so good and work hard making sure every second of gameplay adds something to the experience. There is an extremely small number of games that achieve this level of scale, and I'm not just saying that because we're dealing with gods and giants. Not a single moment drags on. At one point you're ripping through demons in another weather base, and 10 minutes later you're making your way through a horror swamp. A variety of new enemies are introduced, each targeting a specific aspect of the Slayer's toolkit and forcing players to rethink their playstyle and strategy. There was a clear emphasis in bringing unused weapon mods into the rotation, but this is not done through buffs or nerfs. Instead, enemy design is a real decisive factor between the multiple options. The plasma beam doesn't seem that bad of a choice anymore if it's the only way of destroying a spirit. The combat sandbox is shaken in unexpected ways by the addition of new abilities, and encounters are taken one step further in both challenge and sheer fun. And if that wasn't enough, the jaw-dropping scenery is so fucking good that it somehow manages to stop you from pushing forward just to take it all in. If you have any doubts whether to try out the DLCs or not, then know this. These are the best 8 hours of Doom we ever got, and the main negative is that there isn't more. What follows is an extended version of what I just said, along with some jokes that might as well have been told by this guy.
Like I said, I'm in.
And of course, spoilers ahead. Okay, so we switch our space station Fortress of Doom for a floating ghost cannon in the middle of the ocean. Get the portal ready, bitches! We're going in! We can tell right from the get-go that id Software isn't messing around here. Our Doom guy is fully kitted except for the crucible which we left inside this guy's forehead at the end of the campaign, so there are no introductions here. Right from the beginning, the step up in difficulty is both clear and very welcomed. By the way, they still showing these stupid ass tutorials right before fighting a new enemy or encountering a new mechanic? Why? Stop! Bad is Software. Bad! Anyways, we get our first new enemy, which is a knight turret thingy. Meh. Fight the first marauder, fly off the map unexpectedly for good luck. Some container parkour to get the blood flowing. Oh, come on! And steal the Seraphim's chamber key. Why? Who made this? Why? Slayer Gate number 1. Not too shabby, not too shabby. The reward is a brand new support rune, 1 of 3. This single rune is the only upgrade we get throughout the entire part 1, and honestly, that's perfectly fine. The Slayer is already incredibly powerful, and there are so many things to keep track during combat that having this DLC feel more like a celebration of the already existing Doom Eternal sandbox is okay with me. Support runes have their own extra slot. There are 3 of them, 1 for blood punch, 1 for lives, bleh, and 1 for weak points, which is the one I used throughout the entire thing. So after teleporting to this facility, doing some container parkour, stealing the Seraphim's chamber key, destroying the whole thing, and completing the Slayer Gate, oh, and killing a ridiculous amount of demons in the process, we now dive into this submerged, underwater base where they are keeping the Seraphim. Now this is a fucking level. God, it's so good. And there's even a Kraken right there. Sorry, let's keep going. Oh, the long-awaited dual Marauder fight. In case you thought id Software gave a Cacodemon's ass about Marauder's haters. Well, there is a new animation for when they are stunned. Okay, I think I got it. Turns out Samuel, Vega's boyfriend, was actually Seraphim's dad all along. If you have any lore questions, leave a comment, I'll do my best to answer as soon as possible.
Dr. Hayden is the Seraphim. He's been with us the entire time.
Yeah, don't worry, dude. I got it covered.
He's not well. Something is happening and nobody here knows what's wrong with him.
Alright, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I didn't know makers got periods. For the second level, we head into Hell's Blood Swamps. This shit looks like something taken straight out of a horror film. The decayed atmosphere, the twisted trees, rotten flesh, and a layer of mist over the swamp. It would be genuinely scary if we weren't playing as Doomguy. Past the giant tentacle, we later get a section where we need to follow a green wolf whose aura protects us from the poisonous air. This effectively creates a set of both moving and stationary close quarter encounters. There is a constant focus on keeping things fresh, be it through encounter design, environments, platforming, enemy types. The game is always changing, evolving, at a very fast pace. The spirit enemy type is introduced. These little cons can possess other demons, turning them into unstoppable demigods. Literally. They move faster, cannot be frozen or staggered, and weak points aren't so weak anymore. Once their host is killed, they start seeking another host unless killed by the plasma rifle microwave mod. And before you ask, yeah, they can inhabit a fucking marauder. Hey Spirit, yeah you, get lost bitch. JK, I love you. So we get to the end of the level, kill the boss, and... What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit! The setting for the first DLC final level resembles the maker levels from the main campaign. But in the first area, we get this mystical jungle with lots of trees, mushrooms, water, contrasted with the red, white and gold metal aesthetic of the maker architecture. It's just a pleasure to look at. Yet another enemy is introduced, the Blood Maker, which can be one-shotted to the face in its vulnerable state. Back-to-back arenas, some truly enjoyable platforming to take the environments in, and creative encounter setups, some to challenge the player and some for pure fun. The pacing is on point, collectibles are fewer and easier to get as to keep the player on track. The mission challenges are completely gone, no more get 6 blindfolded marauder kills playing with a Nintendo 64 controller and your PC is actually turned off. And when there are no surprises left, when all the cards are on the table and the fuel is just starting to run out, it ends. Part 2 kicks off with a lot of greenery and open spaces. I cannot believe it took this long, but we finally got a grappling hook interactable. It seemed like such an obvious addition to the main game. Here it's used in both platforming and combat, allowing the player to traverse arenas faster than ever and stay in the air for longer periods of time. In the first couple fights we already get 2 enemies back to back. The first one is a Screecher that buffs enemies when killed, and the second one is the Armor Baron. To destroy its armor, shoot the weak point or use a plasma rifle. The armor regenerates, by the way, but they are not so tough. In this level we get a glance at what fights in open arenas with no obstacles are like in Doom Eternal. I absolutely enjoy them and I wish we got more of them, as encounters are often set in smaller spaces, although the Slayer's movement abilities do make these fights a little bit of a breeze. And since this is a DLC and there is no time to waste, we are given the Sentinel Hammer. Oh dude, now this is a perfect addition to the game. The synergy and possibilities the hammer brings to the table are insane. The Sentinel Hammer replaces a Crucible slot, but unlike the Crucible, it works on a cooldown, or, well, you charge it through glory kills and destroying weak points. This is much better, since you don't feel like you need to save your charges all the time and can use it more freely. Okay, are you ready? The hammer stuns enemies and gives ammo. It will also give more health of frozen enemies and more armor of burning enemies. It instantly destroys armor, and it extends stun periods of enemies like the Marauder. Oh, and it one-shots Stone Imps, a new enemy that is also weak to the full auto shotgun mod. I need some water. Once again, in just the first level, we go from greenery and abandoned castle/village to ice-cold tundra to... what even is this? Atlantis? God. Remember Doom 2016 where most environments looked similar? I mean, it wasn't bad by any means, but this is on another level. And from whatever this is, back to reclaimed Earth in daylight for the first time. Here we get a couple new enemies, and finally there is one negative thing about the DLC. The cursed Prowler curses you on hit, which means you cannot dash, take damage over time, and cannot even target it with weapons. And to kill it when cursed, you need to blood punch them. So if there is one of these motherfuckers in a fight, you better make sure to kill them ASAP, because if you get cursed, they'll start teleporting around and you have no option but to walk after them across the entire arena, and you better have a blood punch charge ready to go. So no, the cursed Prowler is not a good addition. The other enemy are golden shield boys. I think they are supposed to get us to use the remote detonation rocket mod, but shooting the ground behind them does the trick just fine. Anyways, it's clear that they sat down and designed the enemies to force the player to use unpopular weapon mods. The plasma beam for spirits, the auto shotgun for stone imps, the remote detonation rocket for shield boys. I have one complaint here, and it's that although there is usually an efficient way of dealing with an enemy, like nading a cacodemon or sniping a mancubus, the player is not forced to a specific alternative. Yeah, you can headshot a maker drone, but nothing is stopping you from shooting rockets at it or using the chainsaw. Some of the new enemies have requirements that are a little bit too strict, which end up taking away from the player's capacity of decision making according to the available resources. For the grand finale, Avengers Endgame kicks in and the Slayer fights his way through the forces of hell for the final battle against his evil twin. Underwater base, Blood Swamp, Ancient Mountain, Maker Jungle, Abandoned Village, Tundra, War Spear, Reclaimed Earth, Gate of the Boom, and Imora. The final boss fucking sucks!